once again. Welcome in, everyone. Today, we're going to talk about something that I don't really know anything about. So, it's really just going to be me, Curious Panda, asking Riser questions about shooting stuff far away. But, as always, we're brought to you by none other than Atlas Gunworks. Atlas Gunworks, I don't know if you knew this, but they also make a fine line of mid-sized concealed carry wide-body 1911s. So, you want to get you one of those? Just remember, you got to survive first. And what is your life worth? You want to win? You shoot Atlas. Whether in the real life or in the competition, atlasgunworks.com. Get you some. And our Gary of the day is wearing loose-fitting clothing. All right? If you show up to a match, especially if it's that magical time of year where you wear a hoodie and you elect to shoot the stage in your loose-fitting hoodie, guarantee you that thing is going to get in the way of every single reload that you do. And there's a decent chance it might get you to Glock or to Sig 320 yourself into the leg when you try to reholster your pistol. Loose fitting clothing, not a great plan. And hoodies,
big fat no.
Yeah, hoodies. You're gonna want to take that thing off when it's your turn to shoot. Loose fitting clothing, Gary of the day. And this is on the perf. So get those overlay cards handy because we're going to talk some NRL Hunter today with none other than Mr. Adam Riser. Adam, how you been, man?
I've been good. I finally had my first round trip major match without any kind of physical harm to myself. So when I shot the shotgun match, I messed up my neck. When I shot Battle for the South, I got super sick. But this weekend, I finally managed to fly to Charlotte, drive to South Carolina, shoot a match, get second place at 99%, fly home, and am in no way any less healthy than when I left. So I'm pretty excited about that.
Didn't you get into competition shooting because it was a sport where you weren't going to hurt yourself?
Yeah, but I wasn't old then.
That's
and
true.
Now I am old.
Yeah.
And so now if you're old and you just do things like travel or activities or whatever, then,
Just fart too hard and it'll get you.
Yeah, you fart too hard. It hit me a little while ago where, wake up in the morning and just be jacked and be like, did I really injure myself with a down pillow and a duvet last night? Like, what?
What happened to you, man? You used to be cool.
I'm just fragile now. I'm just fragile. It sucks. Don't get old. If there's one takeaway from all of these episodes that we're going to lay down, if you really want to know how to be good, just don't get old. That's the key. Don't get old. Don't do it. It doesn't help.
And use your HSA to buy a hot tub. That is medical equipment.
It is medical equipment. Our hot tub is very much medical equipment. Maxwell partook of the medical equipment, and it's pretty nice, isn't it?
It is. It is. And my better half is a nurse, and she likes hot tubs as well. So I feel like
That's
one
right.
is in our future as well.
Nice. Yeah. It's a good move.
So
Well,
you went to an NRL Hunter match. Now, is this the first time you've gone to a major NRL match?
No, so I've done, this is my third one. So the previous two I went to were in Price, Utah. One of them was the first year that they ever did it, I think. That one was very hard. And me and my buddy Rick went and shot. Rick is my alpine climbing partner, so we've been on a couple Alaska trips together, have done a bunch of stuff in the mountains. We spent a ton of time together. He is not a competition shooter in any way, and he is a archery elk hunter. So he's very good at the bow, owns no rifles. So the first match that we went to, I shot by myself because it wasn't a team division yet, and then he shot by himself. He borrowed a gear from one of our friends. He borrowed a scope from me. He borrowed some binoculars from another friend. His dad loaded him some 308 and shipped it out here. He just had a hodgepodge of loaner gear and got massacred. But the one thing about alpine climbers is we kind of like abuse, and we like things that are super hard and we're not good at yet. So he got super stoked about it. And then the next year, they opened up the team division. And so we were very excited. So we borrowed him some more gear. This time he shot my JP65 gas gun. He was the only person in the entire match shooting a gas gun. It's pretty funny.
There's something fundamentally wrong with that.
Yeah. And then we got absolutely massacred because, first time we'd ever done this together. His first time, shooting on a team, his second time shooting a match at all. We got butchered, but we had an awesome time. It was super, super fun event. Really cool thing to do as a team. And he got excited enough about it that he bought himself a Sig Cross in 6.5 Creedmoor, got a Strike Eagle 5-25 up top, borrowed a bipod from me, got some Fury range-finding binoculars, got a Game Changer, borrowed my other tripod, and now he more or less has his entire own kit just to go shoot these guys with me. So
he's a big boy now.
He's a big boy now. And yeah, so we drove to this one was the Snake River Outdoorsman NRL Hunter Match, 2-day match, 18 stages in Mountain Home, Idaho, which was a very different style of terrain, style of shooting, style of match than we are used to down in Price.
I think we have touched before on the format of NRL Hunter, but really quick elevator pitch. What's the difference between NRL Hunter, PRS, and a sniper match?
So PRS is very accuracy based off of props. It's usually very quick shooting position to position. So stages will have somewhere between 8 and 12 shots total. And it will usually be very small targets, but you can kind of like pre-walk the stages, have a game plan. You got all your bipod and your tripods and everything set up correctly, so you can like rip through it. So PRS is kind of like, I would call it like the USPSA of long range shooting. It is your pre-walking stages. You have a game plan going in. You shoot everything very quickly, but you are scored based on hits. But there is a time limit. It is usually either 2 minutes or a minute and a half, depending on the stage. Sniper match. I've never shot a sniper match personally, so I don't really have a lot of insight, but I think it's much more like an NRL Hunter match. Usually you're carrying all of your gear for a very long ways. I believe they're usually blind stages, but it's broken up into, generally speaking, broken up into like more of a sniper spotter type of arrangement. The ones that I have seen in the past where you have one guy sort of like calling for the other guy. A lot of them, I think there are one dude's running a bolt gun in like a 6.5 or a 308 or 300 Wood Mag or something like that. And then the other dude's running an AR, and then he is the spotter, and then they're engaging different targets. This certainly isn't true for all of them, but the ones that I have seen, that seems to be kind of the format. I don't know how they're scored, honestly. And then an NRL Hunter match, the interesting thing, so they're blind stages. So when you like cross a threshold, they start your time, and all you know going in is what your targets look like and how many of them there are. So the stages all have, if you execute perfectly, it's going to be 4 shots per person. So it'll either be 1 target, 4 positions, 2 targets, 2 positions, or 4 targets, 1 position. So those are the options. So you'll walk up and there'll just be a sheet, and it'll be like, your target is a coyote. And that's all you know. And so based off of that, you know that there will be 4 positions because there's 1 target, and you know that you're looking for a coyote, and that's it. So then you cross the threshold. There will be a sighting flag. So there'll be a spot on the ground. Sometimes it's a flag. Sometimes it's a dot of paint, where if you put your tripod directly over that in a vertical plane somewhere, you will be able to see the target from that. Now, maybe that's prone, maybe that's standing. So it really depends on, sometimes there's sort of like loopholes that you have to look through to actually like find the targets. And then there are left and right limit flags. So you'll have a couple yellow flags out there. And so this is the wedge that you're looking at to find your targets from this spot. Somewhere out there are your targets. And the way NRL Hunter Matches work is there is a white placard. I think they're like 10 by 10. Maybe they're 15 by 15. Not really sure. But there will be a white placard within, I think, 20 yards of the first target. And then if there's multiple targets, they will dictate if they are left to right, right to left, near to far, or far to near. So you'll look for the white placard and you'll be able to find the first target within 20 feet of that. So generally speaking, you'll plop your binos down, you'll look out there, and you'll be like, all right, I see it. Does the placard have the letter O on it? And if you're at the right placard, they'll say yes. Sometimes you can see multiple placards because, the way that the stage is laid out or whatever. And then you'll say, I see a coyote 20 feet to the right of the O in a gully. Is that the target? And the ROs would be like, yes. So if there's multiples, then you'll have to start looking for the rest of them. Now, the rest of them, if it says left to right, like, for example, on this one of them said near to far. And the first target we found was a elk at 940 yards. So the max range in an NRL Hunter Match is 1,000 yards. So we're like, okay, 60 yards past that somewhere is the second target, because this is a 2-target thing. Well, the second target was actually like 400 yards to the right at 960 yards. So farther doesn't mean behind it. It just means physically farther away. So finding targets is a big deal. So the way that it works is you come up, you put your tripod down, you get your binos out, you start looking for targets, and you have to find all of the targets, range all of the targets, build your dope card. Usually you have hard data on like a risk coach type deal on your non-shooting arm. Then you have to go to the positions where you're going to shoot everything from. So it'll just be a spot on the ground, and you have to be within arm's reach of that spot. So you can set up a tripod, prone, whatever, as long as you can see the target. But usually the terrain is such that like just laying down and setting up a bipod almost never happens. I did that on exactly one stage in this entire match. Everything else was some weird, super awkward shooting position. And then, so in the team match, you find all the stuff together, you range all the stuff, you build your dope card. One person shoots it, then he peels out, then the second person shoots it, and then your combined score is your score. If you're individual, you get 4 minutes to do all this in, which in 3-gun world sounds like an eternity. In this world is a very small amount of time. And if you're a team, you get 6 minutes for both people to do it all. And you do have to carry all of your gear the entire day. We did probably like a few mile loop, something along those lines. So that kind of is a little bit of a gear regulation, because you don't want to pack around too much crap, and there's no time to like build a big old pillow fort out of PRS bags and stuff. You got to be pretty good. Most of the stuff you just do like bipod, tripod, bag. That's kind of your kit. And then the other thing that changes it from like PRS type stuff is there is a weight limit on rifles. For the heaviest you can go is 16 pounds. That is open division, full send rifle is 16 pounds, which like nothing in PRS is that light. PRS rifles weigh, mid 20s. And then there's also a power factor, which is 380,000, which is basically, you essentially need to be shooting 140 grain, 6.5 Creedmoor, going at a pretty good clip. I switched to 147s because it's a little bit easier to make power factor, but it pretty much means you need to be shooting like a real caliber and a rifle that you could in theory carry in the field. So it takes the giant super weighted down, 6 PRC or 6 Creedmoor, 6 whatever out of it. So it's supposed to be simulating hunting, essentially.
Okay. So like for most of the other kind of matches we talk about, you show up the day before to scout stages. Is there anything to show up for the day before, or do you just roll in the day of?
No, you just roll in the day of. So we showed up the day before just to camp. Quite a few people camped there. They had a beautiful little spot down by the river. It was just like some dude's property. It wasn't like, you're not on like a range for this one. It was just like some farmer who owned some really bouldery, cliffy property down by the Snake River. And so we just camped down by his field down there. And then in the morning you roll up, and as a 3-gun shooter where it's like, you will be registered at this time. Stage 1 starts at this time, blah, blah, blah. It was maddening in the morning. Like, you showed up, it was, what time did you have to start? I think it was like chrono and registration starts at 7. I think that's when it started. Let's just go with that. So you show up, you chrono. That also gives you an opportunity to zero. So they just have a big old poster board out there at 100 with like 50 targets pasted on it. So, you can just like find a spot, shoot your little grid. If you have any zeroing issues, you can fix them right there. So you're not walking down and setting up targets or whatever. But you're shooting them over a chrono. There will be an RO there who signs off on your stuff. You take that over to registration. They check that you make power factor. They weigh your gun. They put zip ties around your bipod and your gun and stuff to notate what division you're in. And then they just kind of do that until they're done. So you don't start at a predetermined time. You just start when everybody's done with registration and chrono and weighing guns.
What?
So we showed up, did all of our stuff. Yeah, I was going nuts because I'm like, I want to know where I need to be. And you just do that, and then you just hang out. So we didn't start walking to our first stage until like 10. So we just showed up, chrono, did all the stuff, and then just like hung out in the van until we saw people gathering.
You like chronoed at 7:03, and then you were just chilling until then?
Yeah, pretty much. So yeah, so coming from like 3-gun background, I was like, this is the most unorganized shit I've ever been a part of in my damn life. And then because the stages are blind, you also kind of don't know where you're going when you start walking. They're like, follow that fence line, and then it will peel off, and you'll see, there'll be like arrows towards stage 1, stage 2, whatever. So you just go down, you follow the arrows, you walk to your stage. There'll be a little staging area. They roll over, and they're like, all right, who's shooting first? And like, you're on a squad, kind of, but not really, because you just shoot and then you move on to the next stage, and then you're never really watching anybody else shoot. So you can't watch people shoot ahead of you, because that would ruin the whole point of it all being blind stages. Occasionally you can see the people shooting behind you, but even though you're like on a squad, you're not like hanging out with your squad. You just roll up, you shoot when it's your turn, and then you roll on to the next stage, and then a few minutes later some people come in behind you. So you kind of end up hanging out with the same people all day, but they're not. It's definitely a very different vibe than like a regular 3-gun match.
So like, is your squad told to show up at 7 and then they dish you out, or does everybody scatter to all the different stages and then you progress in a rotation, or how does it...
Everybody scatters to different stages. So at 10 o'clock, they got up on the mic. They explained some rule stuff for new people. They talked about how things are going to work. They gave people general directions on where to go. And then they said, you'll love this. Everybody go over to that taco truck, get your lunch, and then walk to your stage. So like literally at 10 o'clock when they kicked everybody off, they're like, everybody go get your food and then walk to your first stage. And like... coming from our world, I'm like, this is insanity, dude. It's 10 o'clock and nobody's fired a shot yet, and now we're going to go get lunch? Like, yeah. What is going on? Like, I was so confused. I'm like, this is so weird. It is so weird. But it works, man. And so, yeah, so you just rolling down to your first stage, you hang out. When everybody's there, they're like, all right, like, who wants to go? Like, there's no shooting order. There's no. It's just like, oh, who wants to? Shit, I'll go. All right, cool. What's your name? Oh, it's Adam and Rick on the thing. Like, all right, sweet. You know, your target is 2 coyotes. Time starts now. Click, and then you just run up the hill and do your thing. It's very weird coming from our world.
Huh. Well, I guess the burning question, I need to know more about the camping situation. So, like, how many people were camping there?
Quite a few. I bet there's like 80-ish people camped down there, something like that.
Oh,
like,
wow.
A good chunk. Like a lot of a lot of vans, a couple of like fifth wheel type rigs, a lot of trucks with wedge tents on top, a few people just rocking the tents, but like quite a few people camped. And I think part of that is because Mountain Home, Idaho isn't exactly like a thriving metropolis with a lot of hotel options.
I suppose.
But also these are like, the matches is like, it's for hunters, right? So like everybody there is like dudes that are pretty comfortable just like camping out before a hunt.
Yeah.
So
they're kind of the camping folk.
Yeah, they're kind of the camping crew, like, anyways. So, yeah, a lot of people camped out there.
I think you answered my question already, but were you van camping or were you raptor camping?
We were van camping.
Nice. Rolling in style.
Yep, rolling in style. Yeah, you want just a little extra buffer on the comfort and, amenities that the van with the kitchen and everything gives you.
Nice.
Yeah, so we're rocking the van.
All right, so you get there, you chrono, and the power factor, it's not like in USPSA, right? Power factor is the tiebreaker?
Yeah, so power factor is the tiebreaker. So if you have the exact same score, which certainly does happen because of the way the scoring system works, I guess we can clarify that in a second. But yeah, so if two people have exactly the same score, the power factor... for individuals, it's just your power factor. For a team, the power factor of the person with the highest power factor on your team is the tiebreaker. So, like, in our example, if you're shooting factory ammo, you don't have to make the power factor, but your power factor is basically 0. If you're reloading, you have to make power factor, and then your power factor is your tiebreaker. So, for Rick and I, my power factor would have been our tiebreaker.
So, if I'm shooting 338... factory ammo, I have no power factor.
I think so. I'm not super clear on that, but like Rick never had to chrono. So maybe it's because I did have reloaded ammo. Maybe if Rick was shooting by himself, he would have had to chrono. I really don't know. Not sure. Yeah.
All right. I thought that was interesting though, that's kind of, it's not like in USPSA where it's like, oh, nope, the only incentive is to be like right at this threshold. Like if you shoot more, it's worth more.
Yeah, they try to incentivize people to not game it as much as possible, which I can kind of get behind. So like, yeah, some dudes are shooting like a 6.5 PRC because they're like, oh shit, my power factor is 480,000. Like, what are you gonna do? But you also have to get all the hits too. So
yeah,
it doesn't do any good if you drop more shots. And then the scoring. So because every stage essentially has 4 shots, like I said, if you get a first round hit, that hit is worth 2 points. If you get a second round hit, that hit is worth 1 point. And if you don't hit it, you get 0 points for that. So the best you can do as an individual on a stage is 8 points per stage or 16 points for a team.
And is it pretty typical that you get 8 points, or is it's like if you don't get 8 points, are you like dropping 20 places, or is it pretty rare to get them all?
It depends on the match. So this match was significantly harder shooting, mostly because the positions were harder than the one that we shot in Price. So for example, the match that we shot in Price, Rick and I finished 12th out of 14 people, which seems pretty reasonable. Like, I had never really done this before. Rick had never shot anything before. He's rocking all borrowed gear. We didn't have a good system for communication. Like, close to last seemed pretty reasonable. Had we and it was the same amount of stages as this match. Had we scored the same amount of stages in this match, or the same amount of points in this match that we did in the price match, we would have won the match. So a lot more dropped points in this match.
Oh, wow.
Than the price match. Yeah, I think in the price match, the winning team at that match was the AMU, and I think they dropped like 2 points in the whole match. The winning individual actually cleaned the entire match. And then in this match, nobody came even close to cleaning the match.
Wow. Okay.
I think most of it was in the positions. Like in price, the props are all weird, and there's no like props. They're all natural stuff. So it's like a tree or a rock or just a flag that you have to put up a standing tripod to see over the top of a bush or something like that. But the actual shooting positions were like relatively flat. Nothing was even kind of sort of flat at this match. Like super awkward positions. I mean, like you'd set up a double pull sky pod, which is like pretty standard fare, with one leg in its shortest configuration and the other leg in its longest configuration sitting on top of like a stump to like get your rifle level in the position and space where it needed to be. A lot of like standing tripod work, a lot of awkward kneeling tripod work with like one leg super extended down in a hole because you just couldn't put it anywhere else. The positional stuff was super, super hard at this match.
All right. So I'm in the vibe now. The scene is set. How did your match play out? Like you walk up to that first stage, and what happened? How'd it go?
So, let's see. I'm trying to remember the first stage. So first stage, I cleaned my 4 shots, and I think Rick got 2 points out of his potential 8 on the very first stage. And he was like, "Oh man, you know, like," and it's tough too, because there's a big balance, right? Where it's like shooting order matters. Maybe like we had a predetermined shooting order going in, and we actually changed it up pretty quickly. We're going to shoot him and then me.
Super Gary move.
But like the way that it happened on the first stage, we were glassing. I found the targets and got the ranges, and I was trying to talk him on, and he didn't see them. So I was like, "Hey, I'm just going to shoot him. You'll see where I'm shooting, and then this will work." But the position was super awkward. So I chewed up a lot of our time. So ideally, you got about, for a team, you got 6 minutes. So if you're doing it right, the first person shooting by the time you get to 4 minutes, the second person shooting by the time you get to 2 minutes. So everybody has about 2 minutes to do the shooting. I handed it over, and he had like a minute 10 or something. So he was super pressed for time and still hadn't seen where the second target was. It was super hard to see. And, so we just get body bagged in the first stage. Then on the second stage was the stage with the elk that was actually like, even though it was the far target, it was 20 yards farther, but like 700 yards to the right or something. And neither one of us ever saw the second target. So we shot the first target from the 2 positions, never saw a second target, and got like, 6 or 8 points for the stage or something like that. So we started off with 2 extremely rough stages and just kind of went downhill from there. And then 3 or 4 stages in, Rick zeroes a stage because his comp came loose. So his muzzle brake.
No.
So he had this like Area 419 thing that is like, you basically put on like a threaded deal that you crank down, and then you screw the comp on, or you screw the brake on top of it, but it's just like a hand tighten thing. Mm-hmm. And that hand tighten part came loose. So all of a sudden he's just throwing shots everywhere. And then on the next, so we tighten it down, we kind of like figure it out. And the next stage he hits his first shot, misses his second shot, and then immediately thought his comp was loose. So started like chasing holds all over the place, and, threw a bunch of shots as a result of that. And then, by the stage after that, like, had calmed down and been like, all right, everything's shooting right. I just missed. I need to just trust my holds. And it's a really weird mental game, because it's like, in 3-gun, you can like, oh, I'm just going to really lay one down. I'm going to kind of swing for the fences. Like, you can kind of try harder in 3-gun and do better. You can't try harder at shooting a tiny thing from a long ways away from a really shitty position. So it's like, so when you're getting destroyed, you kind of can't do anything about it. Like, you're just getting wrecked, you know? So,
Well, and you said, I guess maybe I missed this part. So, like, you set up the position, like, you set up the position for both of you. So you have to shoot, you have to vacate the position, and then he has to get in that same one. Or do you, like, completely pull out your bipod and he's going to, or your tripod and he's going to put his in because he likes his better than yours? Like, are you both building the same position and shooting from it, or how does that?
So this is one of the things that we've been figuring out post-match. So we spent the entire drive home, 5 hours, basically just talking strategy for the next match, because we're both very much wired the same way. And the way that you should do it, if you're really crushing, is basically you go to position 1, you're building your position. Other dude is going to position 2. He's building a position. So when you leave position 1, you just leave all your shit there. You go to position 2. Now you're shooting off this position that the other guy built for you. The problem that we have is Rick's a foot taller than I am. So we can't really.
This
like,
was an oversight.
So if Rick sets up a kneeling height tripod, I'm like, dude, what are you doing? Like, this isn't gonna work. So we were actually so when we got home, I actually, like, measured from the ground to the Arca rail, like, this is as low as I can go for a double kneel. This is my perfect double kneel. This is as high as I can go. This is low standing. This is perfect standing. This is tippy toe standing. And then, so now we're trying to figure out, like, okay, how do I set up a position that Rick can use, and how does Rick set up a position that I can use? So
Rick.
So what we ended up doing for this match is I would just take my shit and then he would build a whole new position when he got there. And it was not the way to go at all.
Rick has a riser dope card.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, dude, other people's, like, having other people's dope, like on one of the stages, Rick was really pressed for time, and I was dialing his dope as he was shooting. Like, I would just hover over a scope, and when he'd break a shot, I would just turn his turret to the next target so he didn't have to come out of the scope, look at his thing, do all the stuff. Like, this is like, you know, you'll be building a position, you'll be like, shit, like, you know, give me the game changer, like, extend a leg on that tripod or something. Like, it is very team effort for sure. Like, while one person is shooting, the other person is helping a lot. It's awesome.
I just picture a recipe card, like, taped to the side of his gun, and it's like a little stick person, like, waving at him, and it's got your head on top of it, and it's got the measurements for Adam. Adam can kneel at this height, and he can stand at this height.
Yeah. So we're trying to figure out what to do. So I've been running
You're gonna have
a different tripod than
You're gonna have to paint his tripod at all the heights that you can use, so that when he pulls it out farther, and it's not painted anymore, it's
like red. Yeah, it's just red for dead.
Danger.
Yeah. So we have a couple options. You know, tall people can always, like, crouch over a bit more. So that is an option. Option 2 is if I clip into the tripod, but then he just clips a what the heck do you call those things? Like the platform thing that goes on top of a tripod that you throw your bag on. There's a name for it.
Oh yeah, I don't know what it's called, but yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, whatever it is. Yeah. So if he puts one of those on there and then puts a bag on that, then the height's about correct. So our two options are option 1, I clip in, he puts a platform and a bag on everything. Then our heights pretty much line up. Option 2 is I clip in and then he just shoots from, like, a slightly lower position than he would prefer to shoot from, which is pretty doable. The tricky thing there is that he has to know how to set up the appropriately lower position for me if he's setting up ahead of me or if he shoots first, right? So that's probably what we're going to end up doing for the next match is for any tripod stuff, I will probably set up a tripod in the first position and then leave it, and then also set up a tripod in the second position and then leave it, and then Rick will come through, clip in, and just shoot whatever height I set up, because he can always shoot lower, but I can't shoot higher, if that makes any sense. And then but he could set up like bags and that kind of stuff ahead of me. So usually like we each have a game changer, we each have a tripod, we each have a bipod. So I have a bit of gear to work with. And then sometimes things like a rear tripod and stuff come into play on like really hard targets from weird positions or whatever. But yeah, so we have a unique set of challenges that some other teams don't have, just because of the height difference.
Is first stage jitters a thing at all? Are you just like Stone Cold Steve Austin the whole time? Or like in action shooting, I feel like a lot of times people are nervous about the first stage. Maybe it's just kind of like damage control to like get a running start at it. Like, do you just come out swinging? Are you kind of baseline the whole time? Like, what's your nerve situation like around like first stage and then into the match?
Yeah. I think a lot of things play into this, but definitely having shot those two back to back, because I shot this match and then I flew to South Carolina to shoot the other match, which is now 2 episodes ago. So I have a pretty straight up comparison. For sure, way more nervous shooting the first stage of a 3-gun match or USPSA match than shooting an NRL match, and I think there's a few reasons for that. I think reason number one is all the stages are blind. So you're not like, oh, I'm worried about that spinner, or I'm worried about that 500-yard poke, because you have no idea what's out there.
Oh.
So you kind of can't get all stressed out about something if you don't know what the thing is, right? So that's, I think, part of it. Like, we felt very like even keel in terms of nerves throughout the thing. And then the other thing is like, this ain't my sport. Like, nobody expects me to go there and do well. I don't expect to go there and do well. Like, I understand walking into this match, I have 0 chance of making the podium. So there's a different set of expectations on myself than there is at a 3-gun match where, I mean, pretty much any 3-gun match I go to, like, I have at least a shot at making the box if, I shoot the way that I can shoot. 0 chance I was making the box here. Like, absolutely not. So, like we shot less points and felt like we did worse, but we actually placed like almost exactly mid-pack in this match, where we placed almost last in the previous match. So we're getting better, but man, like the people who are good at this are really, really, really good at it. Like disgustingly fast and smooth and very accurate and really good at reading the wind. And yeah, it's pretty impressive to watch like some of the really good guys when they come behind you and you can see them shoot a stage. It's cool. They're really good.
How does the ranging of the targets work for engagement? Like, are weapon mounted rangefinders a thing? Like, we offer the impact 4,000, 5,000, whichever it is. The impact of the weapon-mounted rangefinder, and I feel like all the Garys of the world are like, oh yeah, I just put it on my gun and I push the button and it shows me where to shoot and I shoot. But it's like, well, yeah, but in certain contexts of competition, like it happens so fast you don't have time for that, and in other ones, it's like they're banning the things because it's legal cheating. Like, where does something like that fit in here? Like, how does the ranging process work between finding the target and actually sending a dinger?
Yeah. So I would say there has been a swing since those things came out. When they first came out, a bunch of the people all of a sudden had them. And now we're a couple seasons past those things coming out, and very few people are running them. So the problem is, because the impact is co-witnessed with your rifle when your scope is zeroed, you can only get the ranges when you're dialed to 0, right? So if you're dialed to some target, because you just so let's say there's 4 targets on the stage. You go to
this is big. Pay attention to this.
Yeah. So there's 4 targets on the stage. You find them all with your binoculars. Like, yep, there they are. You go to your position, you go to target 1, your turret's at 0. You range it. It says 2.7. You dial 2.7, boom, impact. Yay, this thing's awesome. Now you go to target 2. Now your laser is no longer co-witness to your scope because you're dialed to 2.7. So now you dial back to 0, range the target, dial to whatever it says, shoot that one, then dial back to 0, range the target, dial whatever it says, shoot that one, so on and so forth until you've shot the 4 targets. So what most people do, I would say range finding binoculars, mandatory equipment. So we're both running the Furies, and I think that's the way to go. Like, you roll up, you find them with your binoculars. As you're finding them, you're ranging them. You have hard data dope card on like a sleeve thing on your left arm. You take like, dry erase marker, whatever, and you mark your distances on there. So I just put like a 1, a 2, a 3, and a 4 over the yardage, because sometimes your targets are out of order. So if you just start circling, sometimes you'll forget which one is which. And then you know what to dial to for those individual spots. The other thing is, when you're shooting as a team, I can get yardage for Rick as he's building his position, or vice versa, where you can't set up your rifle and start ranging with that. And then you could, in theory, if you're an individual, just set your rifle on the ranging spot and then scan with that. But target location is such a big deal that a large field of view offered by binoculars, I think, is absolutely mandatory. It would be super hard to sit there looking through a scope and find all the targets and do it that way. I think you pretty much need binoculars.
As a percentage, how many people are holding in their reticle versus dialing?
Almost zero. Because
almost zero what?
The time almost zero are holding. So almost everybody's dialing, because the shots are hard enough, and there's enough time between them, because you'll shoot a target, and then you have to open the bolt to go from target to target, locate the other target, read your dope. So, and then the way the scoring works is it's so tight. Like, if you drop a shot, it'll be like a few places for like a dropped shot generally. So you don't want to take any chances on like, oh, I'm going to hold the 2.5 hash a little bit high. Like, you don't a little bit anything with the range. Like, the wind is already a hard enough thing that I'm pretty sure just about everybody at the top end is dialing.
Okay. What was the biggest dumpster fire of the match? Tell me a story, Hoyt.
We got a score of 1 on one of the stages. What happened there?
Well, a lot of missing is what happened there.
A lot of missing happened. I mean, definitely like Rick's brake coming loose on that stage. And then I shot pretty poorly before Rick. I did a bad job. It was a standing height tripod, 1 target in 4 positions, and I shot very poorly off of the tripod. I didn't pay enough attention when I was moving positions. So if you're shooting off a tripod, you want to make sure that the single leg is facing out in front of you, and you have the 2 legs spread behind you, especially if you're clipped in, because when the rifle recoils, it will move all of that. And if your tripod isn't set up in a nice symmetric fashion, it'll recoil to one side or the other, because it will sort of pivot on one foot. And so I made that mistake, and so I couldn't see my own impacts. Luckily, Rick was there calling my shots for me, because ROs won't tell you anything. And so he was able to give me corrections, but I got wrecked. I got 3 out of 8 possible points. And then Rick's comp came loose, and he got 0 out of 8 possible points, and we just got completely destroyed. And then, at the end of the stage, figured out what had happened, and were able to, kind of rectify it a little bit. But man, yeah, and on another stage, we just never found the second target. That was actually the only stage where we didn't find both targets. On most of the stages, I would hand it over to him, and I was just kind of like keeping time on my watch. Most of the stages, I'd hand it over to him and be like, hey man, you got 2 minutes left. Like, all the time in the world, you're good to go. On a couple stages, I handed it over to him, and I'm like, hey dude, you got 35 seconds. I'm super sorry. Just like there is no time. Oh, definitely the biggest mess was it was one of those spots where I handed it over to him with like zero time. There were the sighting post was a spot where you had to set up like a standing height tripod in order to see the placard in the first target, but the other three could be seen from the prone on this like really awkward rock down and right. And, you know, never shoot standing what you can shoot prone. So after we find them in range, I'm like, I bet I could figure out a way to shoot those from the prone. So I get down and I'm looking around and I fully set up my rifle before I realize I can't do that. And you have to shoot them in order. It's not like you can just shoot the 3 prone ones and then go back to standing. It's not like 3-gun where you determine your order. There is a laid out order that you have to shoot the targets in. So I got everything set up in the prone. I was like, nope, not going to work. And then I had to go like back to standing, build a tripod position, do all the stuff, shoot the targets. I got all my first round impacts, peeled out, looked at my watch, and Rick had like 22 seconds left or something to like shoot the rest of the stage. So I was like, well, I'm super sorry, dude. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, so that was probably like the biggest logistical dumpster fire. But the rest of them were mostly just bad wind calls. Like the wind was super switchy. We had one target at like 640 yards where there was no wind at us because we were kind of like down in this little alcove of boulders. There was no wind at the target, but apparently between the target there was a gully with like 18 mile an hour crosswind, because with no wind indicators at all, we ended up holding like 2.5 mils at 600 yards, which is a lot. And so, you know, you just shoot the first shot and see it splash and be like, whoa, okay, I guess we're going to add some wind. And then on another stage, I ended up starting off with a center hold, finishing up in the 4th position on the same target, holding 1.5 mils off the right side. And then Rick finished off his, you know, 1.5 minutes after me, holding 1 mil off the left side because the wind had switched on us during the amount of time it took us to go from one shooter to another. So like bad positions and wind are the two things that make people miss shots there. It's like, as long as you range the targets, that like, you know, dope is dope. Like it doesn't really matter. Like if you range the target correctly and you have good dope, you're going to hit vertically, but wind kills and bad positions. Like as soon as your wobble zone gets to be like the size of the target or bigger, then you're just sending hopers out there. And like, that's not a winning strategy.
What is the biggest Gary observed amongst the field?
Ooh. I'd say shooting sticks. I never saw shooting sticks do anything other than cause a lot of faff. Anybody who was rocking shooting sticks is just getting completely body bagged.
Super.
I've lost all faith in shooting sticks for any firearms application whatsoever. Like they're dead to me. I've never used them, but watching people use them, I'm like, man, that is not adding anything.
If I had a nickel for every shooting sticks endorsement I read in a magazine growing up.
Yep. You'd have like 100 nickels.
What?
Yeah. So definitely shooting sticks. I would say, you know, it's just like any other sport, right? It's like people will roll up there with $10,000 rifles and just get slaughtered. The problem with this sport is there is kind of a baseline of gear that you have to have, because your rifle and optics combination and the gear that you're shooting off of, you know, support gear wise, bipods, tripods, bags, has to be good enough that you can mechanically hit the target that you're shooting at. So it's not like USPSA where if you're nils, you can just show up with a canic and beat everybody. Like, that doesn't exist. You have to have a sub-minute rifle. You have to have a scope that tracks well and has clarity of glass in order to see all the targets. You have to have a bipod with a lot of flexibility in, different forms of manipulation and length. You have to have a tripod stable enough to shoot off from a standing position and hit a 2-minute target at, a very, very long distance. So you kind of can't really cheap out on anything. You sort of need all the gear.
Is there a predominantly prevalent gun or optic that you see? Like, you roll up to a USPSA match, you're going to see CZ Shadow 2s, you're going to see double stack 1911s. Like, is there a common thing, or is it because rifles are so individual that it's just like a kaleidoscope of everything?
Much more kaleidoscope. A lot of different chassis, a lot of different platforms in general. Most of the competitors are shooting 6.5 Creedmoor of some sort, and you have to have like a magazine fed gun because you walk up to the line with an empty gun, and then you need to fire 4 to 8 rounds. But outside of that, man, like everybody in our little pod, everybody had a different scope, everybody had a different action, everybody had a different chassis. I would say the common ones are pretty standard, like a lot of Gen 3 razors, a lot of Fury rangefinder binoculars, a lot of switchback tripods, a lot of really right stuff, Anvil tripods, a good amount of Night Force. I didn't see a lot of Swaros. Most of the rifles are like a Remington 700 of some sort, like action style. But yeah, like some chassis, some stocks. Everybody's running Arca. Nobody's running really Picatinny stuff. Some suppressors, a lot of muzzle brakes. It's really all over the place. Like, it's much more varied than you'd see at like an action shooting sport type deal.
What's the most common camo pattern you saw?
I'm blanking on it. The one that I had.
Military or civilian?
Civilian hunting stuff. A shockingly small amount of really military looking stuff. Like, everybody looked like hunters. Like, it was quite shocking. Like, it didn't look like a sniper competition. It looked like a bunch of dudes hunting with a little bit of extra gear because it was a competition. Yeah, it was actually kind of shocking.
You said predominantly 6.5 Creedmoor, or is there like a mixture of other stuff?
There's a little bit of other stuff, but I think most people there are shooting 6.5 Creed. The power factor thing pretty much means that you kind of can't go under 6.5 and still make power factor, so that like nobody's shooting 6 mil. There's a little bit of 308, but you're at a pretty severe disadvantage just because it doesn't buck the wind that well. And then, there's a bit of like 6.5 PRC, stuff like that. One dude on our squad was shooting, I can't remember what it was. I think it was, it wasn't a 300 Win Mag. It was something even rowdier than that. Like, his power factor was like 500,000. Like, it was, I can't remember what he was shooting, but man, like when he was shooting, you knew that he was shooting. So, people running all kinds of crazy stuff. People show up with like bear rifles and all kinds of wild calibers, but like the people who are serious about it as a competition are all basically either shooting 6.5 Creedmoor or 6.5 PRC.
Okay. Play by play on your best stage.
Oh man, what was the best stage?
Or favorite.
Oh, well, I'll tell you what. I'll
tell me a story.
I'll give you the play-by-play on our last stage.
Okay.
And this might be a good one to wrap it up on.
Okay.
This is perfect. So our last stage. So Rick and I, oh my God. So Rick and I roll up to stage 4. Our buddy Levi is so he's a local shooter here. I've shot a bunch of NRL 22 stuff with him, and I think we shot some USPSA together as well. But anyway, so our buddy Levi is ROing stage 4. He was also our RO on our last stage at our previous match, and we cleaned it in like record time, like had the fastest time of any team in the entire, like just crushed it. Like we were just gelling, nailed it on the last stage. So he's kind of our good luck charm now. So we roll up to stage 4, and you can't talk about the stages because they're all blind stages, but there was just like, you know, we're like a bunch of people be standing around and people be like, oh dude, did you find all the targets on 4? And people are like, fuck no, dude, I only found 2 of them. I only got 1 shot off. You know, like just, you know, nobody was saying any specifics, but it was super clear that like stage 4 was the one that was just eating everybody's lunch. And that was our last stage of the second day. And so we're just like, okay, well, here we go. So we roll up to stage 4. They hit the go button. They're like, all right, you know, your stakes are around the corner. And the sighting pin is like 60 yards away from the spot where you start. So we walk around the corner and we see Levi on the glass, and he's like 60 yards away from us. So this starts with like a 60-yard run with all your gear. And then we get to the sighting pin, and so, you know, we've already burned through 30 seconds of our time. So, we're breathing super hard.
So time starts at the threshold.
So time starts at the threshold.
So they had to run this 60 yards on the clock.
On the clock.
Okay.
Yes. And so we get there, and we're on the stage that is notorious for being super hard to find. And so the targets are left to right. Generally speaking, that means you're going to find a placard somewhere left of center, and the targets are going to sprawl out right of you. And we're looking and we're looking and we're looking. Turns out all the targets are all the way on the right periphery of your visual indicators. So they're kind of like hidden in this gully. They're left to right, but they're only like feet separated left to right, but they're way up and down this gully. So it's like technically they're left to right, but they're actually sort of like near far. And I think the close shot was like 820 yards. They're all quite hard, and it's a prone position, but you're shooting at like a good 15-20 degree upward angle. So you're like high bipod from the prone, shooting very uphill. So it takes us a while to find them. We finally find them. We get on them. We lay down. Rick's feeding me dope. I start shooting. I did all right. I think I got 6 for 8. And then we switch out, and Rick is shooting. And I hand it over. He's got like a minute 30 left. So we're pretty crunched for time. You know, Rick's definitely like mechanically the slower of the two of us, although he's just as good a shot as I am. And so he's shooting along, and he gets to, I think it was the last target, and you can hear Levi's countdown timer. So everybody has like not everybody, but most of the ROs have a timer that will like count down. So it'll tell you when you have 5 minutes, 4 minutes, 3 minutes, 2 minutes, 30 seconds, and then it counts down from 10. So Rick breaks a shot at the last target. I think it was the last target with 3 seconds left. And I see it off the left edge. It was a little bit low, a little bit left. And so Rick's a very good shot because he's a bow hunter. So he's really good at just like holding still and pressing the trigger straight back, but he's not super good at all the gun manipulation stuff yet. So that whole like run the bolt really fast and then send a follow up immediately after it, not Rick's game at all. So with 3 seconds left, Rick sends a shot, misses low and left, runs the bolt, boom, timer goes off, bullets in the air. And everyone's just like, impact. Like full buzzer beater at the end to cap off the weekend. Like it was so awesome. Our buddy Levi was like, "Oh, that was sick!" Like on the stage that was just eating everybody's lunch. So that was definitely like highlight of the weekend was like literally the last shot fired. It was freaking awesome.
That is awesome.
Yeah, it was like Steph Curry putting it in from 3/4 back on the court, and everyone just like holding their breath to see if it's gonna go. It was pretty cool.
So where'd you finish up?
We finished 19th out of 40 something. So we went from second to last to mid pack. So we're hoping to get into the top quarter in the next. We got another one of these in about 3 weeks.
Yeah, you guys are coming up.
Yep, getting there, getting it figured out.
All right. Anything else you want to touch on NRL Hunter before we sign off for the people?
Hang on. Tell you what, eventually, you guys, we're going to have a podcast where I'm not just hacking up a lung. I don't know what I got a hold of in the Carolinas, but that stuff is still with
Black
me.
mold.
Yeah, probably black mold from the meth hotel. No, man, it's super fun. It is such a blast. It's super laid back. When Rick shot his first one, he goes up to his first stage. So the divisions, it's really interesting, and they do something which I think 3-gun and USPSA and other sports could really benefit from. So the divisions, they have the team division, which is essentially open heavy. Then for the individuals, there is heavy division, which is a 16-pound rifle. There is light division, which is a 12-pound rifle. There is a production division, which just has a list. So it's like you have to own one of these rifles, and they're all like $1,200 rifles. Like I think the Sig Cross is one of them. I think that thing from Sequence Precision is one, like a Ruger American, that kind of stuff. So you can have it off the list. And then there is a skills division. The skills entry, I think, is like a third of the cost, maybe half the cost of a regular entry. You don't get to walk the prize table, but you can watch people shoot. So you can roll up and just be like, hey, we're skills. We're just going to hang out and watch 3 teams shoot ahead of us.
Oh.
And then watch how they do stuff. You can get the ranges. You can get the positions kind of figured out. So you can you can watch people do the thing and learn how to do it. And then you can like just do the shooting part. So you can get as much or as little coaching as you want. So Rick's first match, he shot skills division, and he was running a breech load 308, all borrowed gear. Like he was sandbagged like you've never seen before. It would be like showing up to USPSA match with a Red Rider. And so he goes up to his first stage, and he's like, the guy's like, oh, you can tell by the zip ties that are on the rifle what division people are in. And so he's like, oh, you're in skills. Like what, kind of coaching do you want? He's like, oh, let me just try the first one straight up and see how I do. And the guy's like, all right, cool. So Rick goes out there, throws the, at this point he has non-range finding binoculars and a separate rangefinder, which is super not the way to go.
Super Gary.
And so, yeah, super Gary. And so Rick goes up there, looks for targets for 4 minutes, finds nothing. Timer goes off. This is his first stage. And the RO's like, oh man, like, I'm super sorry. It's like, you didn't find anything. I wanted to say something, but you said don't give you any coaching. And Rick's like, no. It's like, dude, I looked around a bunch. I didn't see shit. This is exactly like hunting. You guys have crushed it. It's like, it's totally perfect. But the skills division is really cool because it's a hard sport. It's super, super hard. Getting a system together that allows you to do all of this work fast enough to get all of your shots off and build positions stable enough and read the wind and do all the stuff you have to do. It is very hard. And so the introduction of that skills division where you can just show up, shoot this major match for like $150, watch people ahead of you, get your ranges, and you can kind of like, dip your toes a little bit. Maybe you feel like you can add a little bit more. So maybe you're not going to watch anybody, but you'll roll up and just have the RO point the targets out for you on the next one. And then maybe the next time you'll find the targets, but you have the RO give you the ranges or something. And so you can sort of like adjust it to whatever level of difficulty you want to try throughout the 2 days and just sort of like, pick at the skills one at a time as you go on. And it's a really cool way to like introduce people to the sport because there's no like club scene for this because logistically you need like a humongous piece of property where you can shoot out to 1,000 yards. And there's just not a lot of those places around. So it's not like you can just go shoot your Saturday USPSA match and kind of like dip your toes and then go shoot, a regional or something like that. So it's a really cool way to like kind of ease people into it.
Right on.
Yeah.
I guess I missed it then. Is this a multi-day event or is this 1 day?
2 days.
2 days? So you shot how many stages the first day?
18 stages total, so 9 a day.
And then the second day you sign in, register, chrono again, or you just...
No, so second day you just start at your stage. So you just roll on down your stage. They start shooting at, I think it was like 8 o'clock or something like that. And then I think we were off the range by like 3. drove to awards at offsite venue that was actually like the manufacturing facility for one of the sponsors that was out there, and just kind of like hanging out in their warehouse with a table and somebody catered.
Okay.
So that was pretty cool.
So it starts at noon 30 the first day, and then right away in the morning, but done early in the afternoon, awards, banquets, and on the road.
Yep.
All right.
Yeah, I think we were on the road by 5.
Okay.
No. We were on the road by 3. We were driving away from awards at 3.
Nice.
So, yeah, it was actually pretty tidy.
Well, and you say you got another one of these lined up in about 3 weeks?
Yep, got another one of these lined up. Really, the only real bummer with these is because they're blind stages and you got your hands full, it's kind of impossible to film them without really handicapping yourself. So the only real bummer is, like, unlike every other shooting event, we get done and we're just like making notes about like what we did right and wrong because we don't have any video of anything. So I actually bought myself one of those little pill style Insta360 hat cam deals just for this, even though it's not like the most ideal thing. Like, at least we'll have video of it and we'll have some audio of us talking back and forth and be able to like look at what we did and figure out what we did wrong and figure out how to get better. So it's yeah, the pro guys that are really good at it will actually run in with like another tripod with a phone on it and like set it up and point it at their position and like then do the shooting.
Yeah.
But we need all of that time. So we're not doing any of that shit. That 6 minutes goes real fast.
All right. Well, first of many NRL Hunter adventures, I'm sure.
Yep.
But that's all we have for you today. So make sure those spotters are up, because this is going to be on the perf. And we'll see you next time.